Earlier today.
I didn't see it. Yeah, I gotta get my second.
You might not have been on it. You were after me.
7
You replaced me then. 'Cause
8:30?
No, I was just, I was there from 4 to 87. Left and went in the military.
North Dakota. And that was my first job back.
Unless he's arrested.
Looking for you.
Huh? Maybe.
Who are you looking for? Lymbian? Who was he looking for? He left. Just walked in the door. Literally. Just walked in the door.
Oh, okay.
That was wonderful.
He went to the drugstore.
I realized that you said after I stood up, so I like.
You saw my email on the parliamentarian.
Yes.
Answer.
Morning, or evening, how are you?
Good.
You just want to reach out to
He's gonna be paid, he just hasn't done this.
That's when it's good to go. Look who I said it to.
Whoops. Hey, you can't pass me.
I said, I did it. I did it to myself, in both ways. I didn't think I was so old that I know how to operate a simple email.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming out. We'll have our call to order. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You.
Ms. Benitez,
Present.
Mr. Exiotis,
Here.
Ms. Persino,
Here.
Mr. Rufner,
Here.
Ms. Stemper.
Here.
Are there any changes to tonight's agenda? Okay, we'll move on to special presentations by staff members or invited consultants. All right. All right, next we have public comments, agenda items only, and you have your 3-minute tick on that. Anybody?
Jessica Donato, 520 West River Boulevard. About the resolution to do away with our committee. Why we're listening to 1 or 2 complaints in this town when we have had nothing but praise from the majority of the town, as far as I've seen on Facebook and what I've received walking around this town. People are thrilled with what we've done. People want to work with us. I've been approached about 2 events that people want to hold in this town. I've been approached by businesses that haven't been involved in anything in this town, a certain one we've discussed in our meetings a few times, that want to become involved in the upcoming events that people would like to host. I know we had some confusion and setbacks with our first 2 events. We were rushed into those. We did what we could. We succeeded. The town was thrilled. So we all knew we had to take a step back to figure out what we need to do from now on and make sure we're doing things right. We knew that, and we've planned on that. So why we have to dissolve this committee and redo everything over again, I don't understand. I'm sorry, I don't. I think we're caving to the ones that want to do everything they can to pay us back for what happened with the last council and with our last city manager, and there's no reason we should be caving into them, none at all. We've done well at not reacting to what they tried to do with the couple events we had and how they tried to get involved in those. Why we're caving now, I just don't get. That's all I have to say.
Good morning, or good afternoon. Roy Clonch, 55 East J Street, Newton Falls. It came to my attention that I was at the zoning meeting last month, and there's a lot of changes that need to be corrected. There was a lot of property that was changed without the property owner's knowledge, including several of my properties. I will bring it to the zoning department. I have a letter here in front of me that our property was commercial property from 1994, and just wanting to let everyone understand that there was a lot of changes. Do not know whether or not it was done correctly, but it does need to be corrected as soon as possible. Thank you.
Hi there. Nikki Reed, 2500 Newton Falls Bailey Road. We own the Five Forest Distillery here in town. I'd still love to see you all out there. I wanted to ask you about considering changing the dollar amount that's being charged right now for a food truck permit for Newton Falls. Right now, it's $100 a month. So, and our food trucks, our business thrives on those food trucks. People watch to see who's coming in, and that brings in customers for us, which brings in tax dollars for the city of Newton Falls. So, but we've had 4 trucks cancel in the past month since we've started having to make them come in and get that permit. We only have a different food truck every week, so they may not come back for a month. So that eats into their profit, and so they've all canceled. They don't want to come out here now. I did check all local communities around us, and a lot of them do charge for a permit, but it's $25 was the highest I've seen. So right now, Newton Falls has the highest at $100 a month for the first month, and then it goes to $50 a month, but you're still eating into their profit. And they, so now, I mean, we're losing money because we can't have food trucks out there. And the hours to get the permit, 7 to 3, Tuesday to Thursday, we can't, people have jobs. And so asking them to come out and do that during the day, when most of them come from neighboring communities, they don't all live here in Newton Falls, is asking, I think a lot. If it could be considered that we take the permit and turn it in, we would be happy to do that. But hoping to get that $100 lower too for them and for us. So thank you.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Public comments are supposed to be limited to the agenda items only. We've not been on that, the last 2 comments.
All right.
Julie Lemon, 609 Ridge Road. I want to talk about ordinance 2024-29. So reading this, I have a question. How many of the employees have unpaid medical and/or ancillary benefits? Out of all the employees, how many have unpaid bills? Because that's alarming. I mean, the finance director puts it on the city website, and if you go and you look at that, and quite a lot of money has been sent to this company for anything to be unpaid. As a taxpayer, that's disturbing. And I know you guys are going to do what you have to do. I know the law director and the city manager is going to do whatever they have to do to make sure this is right for the employees. And that's my main question, how many? And how much money has been paid to them during the time when the unpaid medical claims started? From the very first unpaid medical claim to current date, are people in collections? How many are in collections? Those are questions I'd like to have answered at some point. I know, don't want anybody's personal information. We don't want to violate HIPAA. But I would like to maybe get some answers to those questions as to why all of it's necessary.
Adam Zimmerman, 515 LeMay Avenue. I also want to speak on ordinance 2024-09. I think this is a fantastic use of an emergency ordinance right here. This is what emergency ordinances are for, that aren't the roof caving in or something like that. This is about righting a wrong that was done to our workers by the past administration. This is about getting them taken care of, getting this insurance debacle cleared up that was forced upon us. And now we're seeing that it wasn't quite the gallon bucket of roses that we were promised at the time, right? All we heard was how much our city workers love this insurance, how great this past insurance was, and yet now we're seeing that our workers are facing collections. We need to write this. We need to write this in a hurry. So I applaud you by taking this step, taking the first step to getting this taken care of. Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, we'll go into reports. Mayor has nothing to report. Council?
Near you.
Anything?
Yeah, I went to the Memorial Day festivities, I don't know what you want to call it, at the Veterans Park. That was very well done. They always do a fine job this year, no less. It was just a pretty awesome event. I also attended a Treasury Investment Board meeting We did hammer out a nice agenda and trying to determine some structure for that board. It seems like, from what we can tell, there's just a lot of changes that potentially need to be made, I think, coming out of that discussion. And there was supposed to be a planning and zoning meeting, but it was canceled due to just the lack of agenda items, so I did not attend that yesterday. Other than that, that's my report.
I'm saving mine for later on, thank you.
Ms. Julie?
I attended a fire board meeting. I received a few calls and stuff in regards to First Street property being sold from the fire district. And I've clarified that with those people. Our next meeting is, I had it just a second ago, June 18th at 6 o'clock at the administrative building, township building. That's all I have.
Ms. Branda?
Yes, I attended the flag burning ceremony. I thought that was beautifully done. I liked how everybody who showed up got to participate in the flag burning. It was a very solemn thing to experience, but it was beautifully done. I went to the Memorial Day parade and services after. It was wonderful. We had a Parks and Rec meeting, May 28th. We had discussed a proposal for an ADA swing. Council's been given the proposal. And once a couple of more T's are crossed and some I's are dotted, that'll be coming on. Along with that, we discussed a proposal for mulch. There is great need for mulch in every one of our parks in this town, and it's starting to become a great eyesore. So they have discussed that. I have looked up a couple of different ways we can do it. I'm going to wait to present that to the next Park and Recs meeting. We also talked about the graffiti. I know I took pictures of it, but the Stone Pavilion has a lot of graffiti on it. We're gonna try to figure out a way to kind of nip that in the bud. Also, we had a member of the Veterans Organization attend the meeting, and I'm happy to report that Parks and Rec is going to be working alongside the Veterans Organization as well as the city manager for any future benches in the future. Our next meeting will be July 30th at 6 p.m. I'll wait for that at the end. I'm done.
I have nothing, Mayor.
Brenda, the mulch, it's engineered wood fiber. Is that just double ground mulch, or is it?
Yes.
Okay. All right, Mr. Law Director, do you have anything to?
Nothing tonight,
add?
sir. Thank you.
All right. Mr. Novotny, you have anything?
Yes, I do. I attended a meeting with the commanders of all the veterans organizations. We had a very good discussion on a variety of topics. The one hot topic was the benches, and to which we came to a good working solution. As Ms. Persino had already stated, the commanders are going to put a committee together that will be working with Parks and Recs to look at the future of benches, purchasing benches and placement and installation, the maintenance, looking at the whole process, not just let's get ourselves 25, 30 benches and then figure out where we're going to put them and how we're going to put them. But we are, It was a very good meeting. At the end of the meeting, everybody is now on the same page. We're in good graces with all of the veterans organizations again. They wanted to be heard and just know what's going on. So, and they do a lot around town. So I also attended the ceremonies over Memorial Day weekend, all very well organized, very nice ceremonies. On May 18th, over at the community center, when the cleanup was going on, a large section of one of the big trees in the front of the community center decided it was time to fall. Luckily, nobody got hurt, no building, nothing got damaged. The week following, we had the remainder of the tree removed and 2 stumps ground that were that stump and one other one that had been left there. So the only thing left to do there is when the maintenance department gets a free moment, they'll haul the grindings away and then fill that in. So we don't have to worry about that anymore. The transformer there for Dunkin' Donuts that we discussed last meeting, I didn't get any legislation to get in front of you. That you'll see that coming down. What you do have, though, is the information that you requested, reference costs that you had asked. So you do have that in front of you for review. I've received a request for the city to entertain vacating a section of Jackson Street off of Warren Road. This is a paper street. Literally is, part of it is the parking lot of the old Steve's El Bar on the north side. It's a paper street that runs up, goes right up against the railroad tracks and dead ends. We've received a request that I've started researching on what needs to be done. It's the area that has been requested to be vacated is of no use to the city. Actually, it's just a cost for maintaining it. It's right up against the old railroad tracks, and then it'll never be used for anything. So I'll be working on that with zoning, trying to make sure to get something in front of council for that. Coming up towards the end of the month, the car show and bike show, June 22nd and 23rd, will be downtown. They have applied and received all their permits that's needed for that event, so they're all set to go. Hopefully they have good weather and get a lot of people to come out and support that event. Looking a little further out, 4th of July, everything's coming together for the 4th of July festivities. We had a meeting with the Lions Club, 4th of July committee, all the department heads, fire department, sheriff's department, just to sit down and discuss last year, what we want to see this year. Everybody's on board and knows where they stand, what they need to do. So, matter of fact, I actually had a meeting this afternoon with the sheriff's department to touch base on that again, just to see if there was anything else that needed to be done. The baseball league, their yearly tournaments started last weekend. They'll be holding baseball games, baseball tournament games every weekend throughout the month of June. So the park was really busy last weekend, and we'll be pretty much every weekend. If anybody gets a chance, come out and watch some baseball games. They've got all ages playing out there, from little guys up to high school age over there. Electric department and water distribution department, they've been working diligently to get the remaining new meters installed that need to get installed to finish up the whole AMI project and get all the electronic meters done. With that, the water distribution, because they have to get inside the residence, are leaving door hangers. So if you get a door hanger from the water distribution, please call the utility office, set up an appointment so that you can get the meter changed out. They can get in and take care of that. With that, that's all I've got.
All right. Going to move to previous minutes. That was from the regular meeting minutes from May 15th, 2024.
I'll make the motion to approve.
I second it.
Mr. Exiotis, Ms. Benitez. Ms. Persino? Mr. Rufner?
Yes.
Ms. Stimpert?
Yes.
Ms. Benitez?
Yes,
Mr. Exiotis?
Yes.
Pass 5-0.
All right, next we'll move on to public hearings.
Or,
What's that?
we don't have any hearings.
Okay, no hearings. And item number 10, which is unfinished business. None? Okay. And we'll move on to new business. And this is a motion to discuss the date of the next regular meeting currently scheduled for June 19th to determine if this meeting date should be kept or to be changed.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Mr. Exiotis, Ms. Stimpert.
It was just brought to my attention, I thought it was important that we have our conversation here in the open meeting in regards to whether we, according to the charter, we have to have 2 meetings in June. Are we okay with keeping it on June 19th? Or any discussion for change we can put out on the floor tonight?
The reason being is June 19th is a federal holiday.
Correct. Are the offices open here? Is the city open? No.
The city
So the
city
will not be
offices
open.
and departments will be closed.
And I would like to propose we move it back a week to the last. I had it in my head.
So next week?
No, not next week. That's
Could we do it maybe the
the
day
26th.
before?
Oh, move it
or
back.
Or would you rather, yeah.
The 26th?
May I be heard?
Yes.
Yes.
Maybe this is a good time to discuss the issue of, I believe the charter says that the meeting should be on Monday nights, and I'm wondering if you want to revisit that, maybe this summer, or to go back to that, or, and that predates me, that it was changed to a Wednesday, so perhaps there's a good reason that I'm not aware of, but I was just wondering if maybe you wanted to discuss bringing it back to a Monday.
If I could.
Please.
Personally, I'm fine with bringing it back to a Monday. It was previously changed to accommodate one staff member's schedule, to my knowledge.
That's no longer an issue now,
Correct.
so. I have no life. I'm willing to do it whatever night.
You said that in like, on YouTube and everything.
So we could move this back to the Monday schedule,
The 17th.
if everybody's on board. Yeah.
Does that work for you?
Monday, the 17th? Yes.
Okay, so moving, Mr. Limbian, moving forward, are we changing all our meetings to the Monday before that Wednesday? Or do we need to put some kind of rescinding the,
If it was a resolution, then I think we should probably do a resolution to that effect too. I don't think there's any problem with it being this Monday, the 17th, but I think just for the record, it would be good to follow through with some documentation.
okay.
Yeah, I can't remember if that was done by ordinance or resolution, or when they changed the.
Mr. Acomb, can you send that to me?
Yes.
Thank you.
So do we want to just aim for Monday, the 17th for the next meeting,
Yes.
for the one change at least?
Is everybody okay with that?
Put it to a vote.
All right, so there's a motion to move the June 19th meeting to June 17th
Correct, at 6 o'clock.
at 6 o'clock. Moved by Ms. Stimpert, seconded
second.
by Mr. Exiotis. Any additional discussion? Mr. Rufner,
Yes.
Ms. Stimpert,
Yes.
Ms. Persino,
Yes.
Mr. Exiotis,
Yes.
and Ms. Benitez.
yes.
Pass 5-0.
All right, next we have a resolution which is marked 02-2024. And this is a resolution rescinding resolutions 38-2023 and dissolving the Community Services and Activities Committee previously established to solicit, evaluate, and recommend options related to community and senior services and activities provided by the village.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Ms. Stimpert, Mr. Axiotis.
May I have the floor?
Yes.
Okay, so we've had lots of conversation between Mrs. Persino, myself, Mr. Novotny, Mr. Limbian, the past few months on this. This committee did fabulous things. We pulled off an amazing egg hunt in a short amount of time. The members all pulled together and with support of everybody in the community. Also the solar eclipse event. And throughout that time, we've been working on some ideas and conversations with Mr. Novotny as far as senior kitchen and senior activities. So I want everyone to know that my intention for rescinding this is to, at the next meeting, bring back a new resolution that Mr. Limbian is going to write cleaner language on that makes it more clear-cut of what we are looking for doing and wanting to do. At his request, in our conversations, that's kind of what we had decided on. So it is not leaving. We are still focused on doing activities and positive things for this community. We just want to bring it back with cleaner language that Mr. Limbian is going to write for us, or help us write.
Thank you.
So we're taking this off the table then?
We need a motion to table.
We still need to rescind the old one unless, I mean, if you chose to table, you could table it and then we could rescind it. Could we rescind and present at the same time?
I think you can, but I think it would be cleaner to do this and at the next meeting, bring forth a new resolution. I just think that gap makes more sense, but I don't know that either is fatal.
Yes.
Out of curiosity, then, I mean, if you're going to rescind this, that dissolves that committee effectively. That means you then have to restaff it and put people assigned to it, get interviews done. So I just want to be clear that we're all on the same page here when it comes to that action.
Minus one person.
But if he's saying if we rescind this, then we have to restaff. We couldn't.
That's why I'd just like to get this off the agenda. I don't want to see it go anywhere. There was signals crossed. I wanted to remove the word ad hoc, not the whole committee, just a word that was presented when I came on here. Come to find out, thanks to Julie, she sent me the original ordinance that had been passed, and the word ad hoc wasn't even on there. So that's where signals got crossed. Somehow, ad hoc got added on, maybe not in writing, but it was on there, and I didn't agree with the ad hoc. Love the committee, don't want to see it go. You know, the signals got crossed. I did not want this to go away because a few people had called and complained about it. A few people are not the whole community. So let's keep that in mind. I will listen to everybody, but I will make a decision as a whole, not a few. I wanted to clear that up.
So, please just, this can either be tabled, or we can just vote on it and vote how we want to vote. It's up to you guys, but the motion's on the floor for the discussion on this item. So,
I'd be recognized.
Please.
Quick question, with the existing legislation that's out there, do we have the option of modifying or doing a change to the existing, rather than dissolving the entire committee and trying to reform, do we have the option to update, I forget the terminology, amend a resolution?
You certainly can do that. I just thought it would be cleaner to start with a clean slate and have the input from any council member who wanted to see a specific change or two. I find that amendments sometimes complicate matters rather than resolve them, but truly, sir, any way is perfectly fine.
Maybe a,
Yes, please, Julie.
I really don't want to go back through and, I mean, we have a vacant seat. I don't want to have to go back through and re-interview. I don't want to have to go back through and
I don't
re-interview
either.
and, but I do feel like if it's not going to be fatal, as you said, could we table this and then have this on the agenda to rescind this and the new one right there with it?
Certainly.
Can we do that?
Mayor, may I be recognized?
Yes.
Point of clarification on that, if you rescind that ordinance at the next meeting, I'm sorry, ordinance or resolution?
It's a resolution, I'm sorry.
If we,
Table it.
if we rescind the resolution at the next meeting and reinstate with a new resolution, we're still gonna have to go through the application process. That's why I'm saying it might muddy the waters a little bit, but for the intent and purpose of the smoother transition in the end, just come out and amend the existing resolution with the verbiage desired. Rather than, because no matter how you rescind this, you dissolve. But if you want to maintain those personnel and the current activities and actions that are already in place and in play, amend the existing with the proper language as is intended.
May I?
Yes.
I don't recall anything, and please forgive me if anybody knows differently, but I do not recall anything that requires an application or an interview process. I don't know why you couldn't just appoint, but I, you know, based on anybody who solicits with interest, but maybe I'm misremembering something.
This was not supposed to be complicated.
Mr. Limby, what would be the easiest way to do this without causing further confusion or?
I think the easiest way would be to rescind and then a new resolution. I think that's cleaner, but truly, sir, it doesn't matter.
Okay. Counsel?
So at this time, I'd like to make a motion, Mayor, to table this resolution 02-2024 until the next meeting when it can be reintroduced.
I'll make the second for that.
Mr. Rufner, Mr. Axiotis, motion to table this resolution and the intent to place that resolution back on the next regular meeting for consideration.
Correct.
Ms. Stimpert,
Yes.
Mr. Rufner,
Yes.
Ms. Persino,
Yes.
Mr. Axiotis,
Yes.
Ms. Benitez.
Yes,
Pass 5-0.
And next, we have a resolution 03-2024. It's a resolution opposing Dominion Energy, Ohio's proposed 30% rate increase, and requesting that the Public Utilities Commission of Ohio deny Dominion Energy Dominion Energy Ohio's request for the same.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Mr. Rufner, Mr. Axiotis.
That be addressed.
Yes.
Right. 2 weeks ago, when we had our last meeting, this is one of those things I was talking about. A lot of people felt that possibly it doesn't apply to many of us because you're not Dominion customers. The problem is Dominion Energy Ohio owns the pipes which bring that gas to your house. So while you may be under the locked-in contract or whatever of one of the other gas companies or the, I forget what they call it, the aggregate, this will impact you. You can go out and look at it yourself. The information's in this if you haven't already been to the PUCO website. Right off the bat, they're asking for a 30% increase. Dominion was just sold to Enbridge, and one of the things they're looking to do is upgrade their infrastructure. Infrastructure isn't cheap, it's gonna get passed on to the customer. 30% increase realistically adds up to basic service charge for your customer service at home is $43.27 a month. That will immediately increase to $56.31. So you're looking at a $10 a month increase right there. Then they are also adding an $8 and I believe 75-cent monthly surcharge to the distribution charges, the transportation charges to get that gas to you through their pipes. So there's almost another $10. So right off the bat, if this goes through, you're looking at almost $20 increase right there. Now, we're not the only community to do this. Multiple communities, if you go out to the PUCO website and pull this information up on the case that's listed, you will see multiple communities. Lordstown, Warren, several of them have already been on this and have already gone down this road. I think it's time that, you know, this council, even though we don't provide natural gas to the city, we need to make sure our voice as a council is heard with the PUCO to get the attention needed to at least get a fair shake at this. PUCO is not going to get involved on their own unless there is enough community interest behind it. And if we don't put our foot forward in this and join these other communities, that's a disservice to our customers. So that's why I've put this out there and why I'm asking.
Anyone else? You call the roll, Mike?
Ms. Benitez?
Yes.
Mr. Axiotis?
Yes.
Ms. Persino?
Yes.
Mr. Rufner?
Yes.
Ms. Stemper?
Yes. Yes.
Pass.
Sorry.
Pass 5-0.
All right, next is ordinance 2024-28. This is an emergency ordinance authorizing certain amendments to the appropriations for the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2024, and authorizing the finance director to amend and to file a certificate of resources with the county auditor.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Mr. Rufner? Ms. Benitez?
Yes.
Right. For those of you following along, clarification on these appropriations data. You will see that, yes, grand total on this, there's a $1.145 million being allocated or appropriated in specific funds. These are required. Some of them are legal responsibilities due to previous past actions that must be settled up. There is also the Scott Street project. $800,000 must be made available, and that's from the holding fund be made available so we can pay the bills for that project. The holding fund was where all that grant money was stored. The money has to be transferred into the sewer operating so we can write the check against it. And that's what that 800,000 is. There's an economic HILP fund, Fund 217. Not many people see activity in this, and it's one of these things that leaves people a lot of times miscommunicated. This is the NDS, Neighborhood Development Services. They're the ones that provide the low income and people that just don't have the means with a zero interest, low interest loans for home renovations, remodeling, so on and so forth. Certain criteria and everything must be met, but it gives people an opportunity to make necessary home improvements. So there's $152,000 or $153,000 was the set amount when that was established 20 years ago as their seed money. That seed money must stay in there. This is where we're putting that money that was coming back in on the repayment back into that account so it can then be reused for other applicants to go forward. So the explanation of the three that are there, that's what that is. If you have any questions on it regarding any more details, by all means, please give me a call, catch me after the meeting. I'll be more than happy to explain it to you. That's all I have.
Anyone else? All right, call the roll, Mike.
Ms. Benitez?
Yes.
Mr. Axiotis?
Yes.
Ms. Persino?
Yes.
Mr. Rufner?
Yes.
Ms. Stemper?
Yes.
Pass 5-0. It requires a second reading.
All right, next we have ordinance 2024-29.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
we gotta read.
We had-
It's an
okay.
emergency. We have to do 2-8 again.
All right. Ordinance 2024-28, which is an emergency ordinance authorizing certain amendments to the appropriations for the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2024, and authorizing the finance director to amend and to file certificate of resources with the county auditor.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Mr. Axiotis? Ms. Persino?
Call the roll.
Mr. Axiotis?
Yes.
Ms. Persino?
Yes.
Ms. Benitez?
Yes.
Ms. Stemper?
Yes.
Mr. Rufner?
Yes.
Pass 5-0.
All right, now we'll move on to ordinance 2024-29. This is an emergency ordinance authorizing the city manager to assume the role of healthcare benefits plan administrator, directing the city manager to review and to approve on a case-by-case basis any and all WJL unadministrated and unpaid medical and/or ancillary benefit invoices for services rendered prior to May 1st, 2024.
I'll make the motion.
I will second.
Mr. Axiotis? Ms. Stemper?
In discussion? Brian?
Yeah, I understand the purpose of this ordinance. The only thing I'm really not clear on or concerned about is the spending authority. Is the city manager still bound to the $10,000 spending limit? Or is this giving him unlimited spending authority? Because it's not very clear by the ordinance, which I'm not really keen on voting yes on something that could theoretically spend hundreds of thousands of dollars of the city's money. So that's what I'm concerned about.
Kevin, please.
If I may address, to answer your question, Mr. Axiotis, yes, the pre-existing ordinance supersedes, so his limit is still set at $10,000 per individual. So he cannot exceed that $10,000 per individual without coming to us and justifying in advance for that. So, yes.
Just want a clarification.
Call the roll, Mike.
Ms. Benitez?
Yes.
Mr. Axiotis?
Yes.
Ms. Persino?
Yes.
Mr. Rufner?
Yes.
Ms. Stempert?
Yes.
Pass 5-0.
Read it again.
All right. Ordinance 2024-29. This is an emergency ordinance authorizing the city manager to assume the role of health care benefits plan administrator, directing the city manager to review and to approve on a case-by-case basis any and all WJL unadministrated and unpaid medical and/or ancillary benefit invoices for services that were rendered prior to May 1st, 2024.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Mr. Rufner, Ms. Benitez?
Call the roll, Mike.
Mr. Axiotis?
Yes.
Ms. Persino?
Yes.
Mr. Rufner?
Yes.
Ms. Benitez?
Yes.
Ms. Stempert?
Yes.
Pass 5-0.
I will move into public comments, and you have a 3-minute limit, and it's open to anything.
minutes. Julie Lemon, 609 Ridge Road. I want to say I heard multiple times the charter reference tonight, which means that you guys are applying it. Yay. And that's different than what we've had over the last few years and it not being applied, so it's good to see it applied because I sure do appreciate the charter. Second of all, going back, the meeting's back to Monday, at least for the next meeting, and then the going back, that's the way it was written, and changing it for one staff employee, that was silly. That was utterly just nonsense. It didn't need to happen. It's always been on Mondays, and I know for a fact there are some people who wish to attend council meetings but choose not to because they're on Wednesday, and that interferes with midweek services for their churches and stuff, and they choose that over coming here and being informed on the village. So I think moving them back would also, on Mondays like they've always been, that's a really good idea. I still have questions regarding ordinance 2024-29, but I will leave them be for now. And also, I can't say enough. It was nice to hear the charter referenced and applied tonight. So I give you all applause for that. Thank you.
John Richards, 212 Albert Street. This is in reference to the moratorium in 2024-27. And June is National Men's Health Month. And I recently heard on the radio of a study of cannabis use by males between the age of 15 and 25 that found a greatly increased risk of psychosis and schizophrenia. Why? One reason might be this is information from a Canadian documentary from the Canadian Broadcast Corporation. It lets me know that the THC content of the weed that I inhaled in the 60s was about 2%. The weed we're talking about selling in Newton Falls is likely higher than 15%. In addition, the Canadian documentary states, unfortunately, the more potent a drug and the high is, the more addictive it can be. Today, about 1 in 11 marijuana users will become addicted. A 2008 National Institute of Health study, there is now reasonable evidence that regular cannabis use predicts an increased risk of psychosis. March 2011, Harvard Health also increases the risk of developing schizophrenia, also problems concentrating and loss of emotional expression. As they become young adults, young people who smoke marijuana were twice as likely to have developed psychosis over the next 10 years as those who didn't smoke pot. National Institute of Health, May 23. Study highlights the need to proactively screen for, prevent, and treat cannabis use disorder, especially among young people. Scientific America, May 2023. Heavy cannabis use linked to schizophrenia, especially among young men. A huge Danish study shows that up to 30% of psychosis diagnoses in young men could have been prevented if those individuals hadn't used marijuana heavily. Newport Academy, a teen resident treatment place. Individuals with schizophrenia tend to use marijuana at higher rates. Parents should be educated about the weed schizophrenia link and learn how to recognize psychotic symptoms. Medical news today. Many people who present to the emergency department with psychotic symptoms related to cannabis use will need hospitalization. Up to 50% of these individuals will develop schizophrenia. The morality of involving ourselves in businesses that will certainly result in at least some of our young men becoming mentally ill is the question that this council faces during this Men's Health Month. And we need to understand that the pot of the 60s is not the pot that is being sold today. 2% content in the 60s, 50% or more today. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Okay, Roy Clonch, 55 East J Street. I'm just trying to bring this zoning thing back up again. It's something that needs to be addressed. The entire project area, East River Gardens, is zone residential. Those are duplexes. That's a multi-family district. This does affect a lot of different people in town. So it does need to be addressed and needs to be looked at. The zoning meeting was canceled this month, so which puts it back a whole nother month. So what I'd like to do is I have a lot of paperwork here that explains my situation. I would like to either give it to the council or give it to Mr. Zimmerman so that he's on board with the changes that need to be looked at, so that he has time to look at it before the meeting. Also, my dad is 84 years old. He doesn't have a chance to look at the zoning or the council meetings. He would like to see if they can get it broadcasted again back on the Newton Falls channel. So a lot of people are missing out what's actually going on here, and that would help a lot of people out. Thank you.
Adam Zimmerman, 515 LeMay Avenue. I too want to address the moratorium on marijuana shops coming into town. But first, I want to thank Councilwoman Benitez for passing out this paper tonight. I am, as you know, a member of your ward, so I do appreciate seeing your insights as to why you voted the way you did, and just explaining yourself to us in this letter. I do appreciate seeing that. One of the things I wanted to say is we've heard the past few weeks how you on council want everyone in this town to fail, that you do not listen to your constituents when it came time to voting on this moratorium for the marijuana houses. okay? If you recall, past couple years, all we heard about is we need to have curtails and legislation put on to limit the smoke shops that have been coming into town and the halfway houses that have been coming into town. Concerns have been on where these are located, how they can be located, how we can legislate them into certain areas. Same thing with the smoke shops. Do we need to keep them so far away from schools, from parks and whatever? We discussed this in the planning and zoning meeting, and it came this way too. So it's too late to do anything for those now, right? They're here, they spread, we have what we have. But the same people that wanted you to look at these and wonder why more wasn't done in the past are the same ones saying that you are wrong by putting a moratorium on these marijuana dispensaries. I commend you for stepping back, looking at these, looking at where these can be located, what legislation we need to put in place to make sure that they stay away from our schools, make sure they stay away from our parks. I'll make sure if we only want one or two in town, what do we need to do to control, to make it fit us and not let it come in. Next thing you know, we have 5 marijuana houses here in town. So thank you for that. Just one more thing I want to talk about is Saturday, June 15th, the 4th of July committee is going to be at Faces as guest bartenders from 7 until 10 at night. Everyone come on out. We're collecting donations for the fireworks. Every tip that we receive will be going towards the fireworks for this 4th of July. So hopefully we'll see a lot of people there. Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to closing remarks. I had a chance to attend the Memorial Day veterans festivities and the flag retirement, and it was very nice. It was very well done, and it was a very nice turnout. And Newton Falls is certainly a slice of Americana. It's almost something off the Hallmark Channel when we have a get together like that. So I just want to give everybody a heartfelt thank you that was involved in putting that together, because it was very nice. Council, do you have any?
Yes. I passed out a paper to most of the people that were here already. Patricia Benitez. I know some of you are very disappointed on how I voted May 15, 2024, concerning legalized dispensaries in Newton Falls. Since the last meeting, I've done some research, and I would like to tell you my findings. Hopefully, my constituents are going to be a little happier with my findings. True, I did not do much research on the topic, and I must admit I'm against using medical marijuana and a lot of other drugs. That is my opinion. After talking with a variety of individuals, some are on the same page as me concerning the medical marijuana, I have come to the conclusion that since the majority of the people are for medical marijuana, I need to change my stance on the subject. I am not for it. Here are some facts mentioned in the dialogue on Facebook. Legalized in Colorado, and car accidents increased 128%. Legalized in Maryland, in Washington, also increased accidents. So aside from the tax revenue, you want to be prepared for increased traffic deaths. The dispensaries in Maryland are strong-arm robbed frequently. One thing that was brought up was the revenue that would be brought into the city. I feel that it would be relatively minimal, as it would be a maximum 2.25% local sales tax. You would get taxes from the employees' wages. If I am wrong, please correct me, but don't yell at me at a council meeting. Let's keep the decorum going that has been established with this new council. I will gladly accept all correspondence on the above subject sent to my personal email, which is on the paper, but you also have to be forthright with me. I will not accept any email that has a fictitious name. If you feel so strongly about having recreational drugs legalized in our town, then you should not be afraid to sign your name. If you are opposed on having legalized dispensaries, I would appreciate your views also. I really do want to represent my constituents. Thank you.
Please. There's a lot to unwrap with some of these comments tonight. I don't know if I feel like delving into it, but some of the comments made about where the dispensaries could be and whatnot. If you actually read the past issue that the voters passed, there's a lot of details in that. I would suggest you go out there and do a little research on your own to discover what is entailed with what was passed, and it is very long and wordy, but it will answer a lot of your questions. I feel like most people who've sat up here and commented have not read that legislation at all. At least come here and be informed and make that informed decision. Some of the facts presented tonight, I have some serious doubts on. But they can be read, and we'll have to live with what the comments have been added to here. Pot is legal medically in the state of Ohio. It's not legal recreationally, and it's been illegal forever. I've lived in this town my whole life. Pot has been everywhere you look in this town. The idea that by legalizing a dispensary will somehow all of a sudden create a new whole generation of pot smokers that don't already exist is a fallacy. It's just not how it's going to work. You're either a pot smoker or you aren't. Just because it's legal doesn't mean you're going to just rush in there and buy a bunch of it and we got a whole army of potheads. They're smoking it, they're just not getting it legal. Another comment on what we passed earlier with the appropriation. I believe a big chunk of that was for a lawsuit that we lost. That is north of $250,000. And I'm curious to the law director, just as a comment, where our options are. I'm trying to recoup that, at least from a malfeasance standpoint. The city was advised by a lawyer that we were paying, gave us that advice, and it's cost us $250,000 and potentially much, much more. I would like for at least the city itself and the individuals involved that we should be questioning what our legal options are to try to recoup that money. Because it seems like to me that the opinion given by the employee was horribly wrong at this point. And there's going to be a lot of money at stake that, while most citizens here aren't seeing that yet, they're going to see that. That money has to come from somewhere. That $250,000 is coming from somewhere. Less roads, not bringing the police department back. There's going to be repercussions. So please investigate that. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I have
Nothing. Ms. Brenda, you have anything?
Yeah, I do. First, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't remember voting to ban it entirely from coming into our community. We did not ban that coming in permanently. It's a pause button. It's just so we can cross every T and dot every I so there's no mistakes and so nobody can come back later and say, why did my taxes go up? We need to figure out regulations, we need to figure out zoning. Now, I get it. It's not my decision to say yay or nay on that. I don't believe that. That's up to you. It's your community. I'm supposed to listen to a part of that community, which is my ward. Therefore, I'm not going to tell you what my opinion on it is, because it's not my opinion at that point. It's yours and what you tell me. And I'll reflect back on that when this comes back up, because it's going to come back up. We just put a pause button on it. Once we get everything lined out and it's presented back to me and I read it and I research it to make sure we're doing everything right, then I'll let you know what my vote is. Don't call me and tell me I banned something from this community that could bring in money. Because I didn't. I put a pause button on it. I want to make sure every T is crossed and every I is dotted. And when I say that, I want you to think about something. If somebody just came into town and decided, I'm going to open this up right beside the community park, or I'm going to open this up right across from a church or a school, how many people do you think would fill this room then? That's why we put a pause button on it. Part of the reason. Another thing I wanted to clarify on was I wish we could have removed that off the agenda today. I like the community services and events. Again, I just had an issue with certain people mentioning ad hoc. Lines got crossed. There was never an ad hoc attended to this to that committee, or was it ever written after community services and activities services? So somewhere lines got crossed. People were saying the ad hoc committee, the ad hoc committee. There's only one ad hoc committee, and that's the police committee ad hoc. I was confused. I thought there was two, just like you did. Everybody thought it was an ad hoc committee. So I wanted that word ad hoc removed. Little did I know that it was never there. So, again, I need to research a little bit better before I start yapping. Okay?
You sure?
Yeah, I think so.
Just real quick, want to take a moment and say thank you to the, totally spaced it. Eagle Creek Conservation Club and all the other parties and personnel, businesses, whatnot, that donated towards the annual fishing derby. It was a great turnout. Weather was a little sketchy at times, but the kids didn't care. There were smiles all around. A lot of good times being had down there. And again, it's good to see the youth of the community engaged, involved in events like this. Every year it's a great event. Additionally, this Friday is the Concert in the Park opener, I guess you could call it. This will be the first weekend. It'll be Friday on the west side of the falls over by the observation deck. At the gazebo, they will be playing music up there this Friday, 5:30 to 8:30 p.m., which also coincides with the first Friday of the month late night in the falls event. Local businesses will be open late. Some of them will remain open upwards of 10 p.m. Again, stop in, grab a cup of coffee, whatever your flavor may be. Meet some of the people in town, get out, talk. We need a lot more of that. So if you see me out there, flag me down. I'm not shy. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Mr. Limby, do you have anything?
Yes, sir. I asked that the council consider going into executive session to discuss litigation matters.
All right.
I just have
Mr. Mann, you have anything?
two quick things. Back in the back of the room, there are some flyers that came from the 4th of July committee. One's about the parade, stating when and where it's exactly going to be. The other one is some of the events and entertainment that'll be during the 4th of July festivities down at the park. And that each of the council meetings is televised on YouTube, with the exception of one where we just had an issue where our personnel was not available.
We're live tonight, Mike?
Yes, yes. So that is out there so that people can watch it. So, thank you.
Can I make a motion to move into executive session
Yes,
for
you may.
litigation matters?
I'll second that.
Ms. Stimpert, Mr. Axiotis, Ms. Stimpert,
Yes.
Mr. Rufner,
Yes.
Ms. Persino,
Yes.
Mr. Axiotis,
Yes.
and Ms. Benitez.
Yes.
Pass 5-0, 7-14.
Oh, there he is. I was like, I didn't see him come in. It's like- What?
All right. Call the meeting back to order.
I'll make the motion to call this into order.
I'll second it.
Stimpert, Mr. Axiotis, Ms. Persino, Mr. Rufner,
Yes.
Ms. Stimpert,
Yes.
Ms. Benitez,
Yes.
Mr. Axiotis.
Yes.
Motion to adjourn?
I'll second it.
Ms. Stimpert, Mr. Axiotis, Mr. Axiotis,
Yes.
Ms. Benitez,
Yes.
Mr. Rufner,
Yes.
Ms. Persino,
Yes.
and Ms. Stimpert.
Yes.
8:38.
And the gavel.
Fair?